Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Taufiq Sholihin and my partner is Muhammad Rafli. We are from group 4 and we will discuss about acculturation. The content of the materials we have find that we will discuss about the material. The first, acculturation. The second, acculturation defined. The third, acculturation at group and individual levels. Fourth, how acculturation differs from assimilation. The last, 5 different strategies and outcomes of acculturation. Okay, we will discuss about acculturation. Acculturation is a process through which a person or group from one culture come to adopt the practice and values of another culture. While still retaining their own distinct culture, this process is most commonly discussed regarding a minority culture adopting elements of the majority culture, as is typically the case with immigrant groups that are culturally or ethnically distinct from the majority in the place to which they have immigrated. However, acculturation is a two-way process, so those within the majority culture often adopt elements of minority cultures with which they come into contact. The process plays out between groups where neither is necessarily a majority or a minority. Acculturation is not the same as the process of assimilation. Though some people use the word interchangeably, assimilation can be an eventual outcome of the acculturation process, but the process can have other outcomes as well, including rejection, integration, marginalization, and the second, talking about acculturation defined. Acculturation is a process of cultural contact and exchange through which a person or group comes to adopt certain values and practice of a culture that is not original. They are to a great or lesser extent. The result is that the original culture of the person or group remains, but it is changed by this process. When the process is at most extreme, assimilation occurs wherein the original culture is wholly abandoned and the new culture adopted in its place. However, other outcomes can also occur that fall along a spectrum from minor change to total change, and these include separation, integration, marginalization, and transmutation. While these early sociologists focus on the process of acculturation experienced by immigrants and also by Black Americans within predominantly white society, sociologists today are more attuned to the two-way nature of culture, its hang and adoption that happens through the process of acculturation. And the third, we will discuss about acculturation at group and individual levels. At the group level, acculturation entails the widespread adoption of the values practice from of art and technologies of another culture. This can range from the adoption of ideas, beliefs, and ideology to the large-scale inclusion of food and style of cuisines from the other cultures. For example, the embrace of Mexican, Chinese, and Indian within the United States. This includes the simultaneous adoption of mainstream American foods and meal by immigrant population. Acculturation at the group level can also entail the cultural exchange of clothing and fashions and of language. This happens when immigrant groups learn and adopt the language of their new home or when certain phrases and words from a foreign language make their way into common usage. Sometimes leaders within a culture make a conscious decision to adopt the technologies or practice of another for reasons associated with efficiency and progress. At the individual level, acculturation might involve all the same things that occur at the group level, but the motives and circumstance may differ. For example, people who travel to foreign lands where the culture differs from their own, and how and who spend extended periods of time there are likely to engage in the process of acculturation, whether intentionally or not, in order to learn and experience new things, enjoy their stay, and reduce the social friction then that can arise from culture difference. This is the case for many first-generation college students who suddenly find themselves among peers who have been socialized already to understand the norms and culture of higher education, or for students from poor and working class families who find themselves surrounded by wealthy peers at well-funded private. And four, we will discuss about how acculturation differs from assimilation. So they are often used interchangeably. Acculturation and assimilation are two different things. Assimilation can be an eventual outcome of acculturation, but it doesn't have to be. Also, assimilation is often a largely one-way process rather than the two-way process of cultural exchange that is acculturation. Assimilation is the process by which a person or group adopt a new culture that virtually replaces their original culture, leaving only trace elements behind at most. The words mean to make similar, and at the end of the process, the person or group will be culturally indistinguishable from the culture native to the society into which it has assimilated. And about assimilation as a process and an outcome is common among immigrant population that seek to blend in with the exciting fabric of society. And the last five, we will discuss about five different strategies and outcomes of acculturation. Acculturation can take different forms and have different outcomes, depending on the strategy adopted by the people or groups involved in the exchange of culture. The strategy used will be determined by whether the person or group believes it is important to maintain their original culture and how important it is to them to establish and maintain relationships with the greater community and society whose culture differs from their own. The four different combinations of answers to these questions lead to five different strategies and outcomes of acculturation. They are: the first, assimilation. This strategy is used when little to no importance is placed on maintaining the original culture and great importance is put on fitting in a developing relationships with the new culture. The second, separation. This strategy is used when little to no importance is placed on embracing the new culture and high importance is placed on maintaining the original culture. And the third, integration. The strategy is used when both maintaining the original culture and adapting to the new one are considered important. That is common strategy of acculturation and can be observed among many immigrant communities and those with a high proportion of ethnic or racial minorities. And the fourth, marginalization. This strategy is used by those who place no importance on either maintaining their original culture or adopting the new one. The result is that the person or group is marginalized, pushed aside, overlooked, and forgotten by the rest of society. And last, transmutation. The strategy is used by those who place importance on both maintaining their original culture and on adopting the new culture, but rather than integrating two different cultures into their daily lives, those who do this create a third culture. Okay, last we have conclusion. Conclusion from the material. Acculturation is a process through which a person or group from one culture comes to adopt the practices and values of another culture, while still retaining their own distinct culture. At the group level, acculturation entails the widespread adoption of the values, practice, form of art, and technologies of another culture. At the individual level, acculturation might involve all the same things that occur at the group level, but the motives and circumstances might differ. Maybe that's all.